to come lead again, I said no. I turned the offer down to come back to the ministry because I felt like I had gotten to the end of pretending. I got to the end of feeling like I needed to put on this air just to belong, just to be a part of this clique or this group of church folks. It was a huge church with like several campuses, and so it's like even just through being at the church, you become very like well known, and it's popular to be the person on the stage and stuff like that. And I felt like I had that for so many years, chasing platforms where at the end of the day, I realized that I'd never really fully be accepted. And so at the end of that journey, I got kicked out of the place that I was living because I was living with two pastors from that church. And so I stayed on my friend's couch for about a month. And then I was like, I don't know, something woke up in me, and then I was like, I got to make a move. I got to do something. I can't live on my friend's couch, like I've got to start my life. And I started looking at the opportunity to move to LA. And it was the wildest thing. The moment that I came out here and began to be myself, like my life drastically changed.
From Los Angeles, California, this is Brett Gaffney, and you're listening to A Word Before We Leave. Let me ask you this, guys. Have you ever been in a situation or moment in your life where you didn't feel like you belonged? You were giving your all to something, and it was just constantly received with rejection, and that feeling that the you that you were supposed to be, that you felt deep down, had to be hidden in a box and shut away. Well, today's guest is no stranger to that feeling, and he explains to us and helps us overcome it ourselves. Today's guest is Israel Isaac. Israel Isaac is more commonly known for Vanderpump Rules, the reality TV show. He is a host at Sir, the restaurant, and also he's been seen in Jubilee YouTube videos and other YouTube videos, as well as he makes worship music that is incredible. I personally got to meet Israel at church, at the LA church. Shout out to Jesse and everyone at LA church. And we've come closer throughout the past year, and he's been one of the big supporters of me as I got into LA and transitioned into acting and podcasting. And I have also, likewise, been a big supporter of him as he's explored his own creative endeavors. And now I get a chance to talk to him through microphones. So without further ado, this is the episode. The whole episode takes place on Israel's patio outside of his house. And so you might hear some outside sounds, but I did my best to keep it a little more subtle and not too obvious. Other than that, though, thank you for listening, and now the episode after a word of support. Are you a fan of A Word Before We Leave? Well, look no further. You can now support the podcast. Here is how you will do it. All you have to do is hit that share button and share to your social media story, or share to a loved one, or share it on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter or X or Threads, whatever you call it. All you have to do is send this to somebody that you think might enjoy the episode or might need it or might gain something from it. That's it. Simple as that. You can donate if you'd like. The link is in my Spotify bio. But other than that, honestly, this is a passion project of mine, and I do it for free, and I do it out of the love for the stories that I'm telling. And I just want more people to have access to it. And the best way to do that is to boost the algorithm and rate it on Spotify, give it the stars that you think it deserves, and share it with as many people as possible. I can only go so far with the marketing because I'm a busy boy. Everyone deserves to share their own word before they leave, and this episode is brought to you by you, the fans. Now, the episode.
Hello, this is Israel Isaac, and I'm on A Word Before We Leave.
And I'm Brett Gaffney, the man with the plan, the host, the creator of the show, and editor. You guys know what's up. Welcome back to the show. We are going into, I believe this is episode 24 or 25 of the show. We're about 2 years in, and we're going strong. And today I have one of my dear friends, Israel Isaac, on the show. Israel, can you just tell the audience maybe like a quick paragraph about who you are if they don't know who you are?
Yeah, so I am an artist, a model, a musician. I've kind of done it all since I moved to LA. Thank God. It's given me the freedom to just express myself in any kind of creative way I can. But music has probably been the biggest part of my life thus far.
And what started you on that music journey as I start to pull up our first segment?
I grew up in a Pentecostal church with my uncle as a pastor, and my dad was a bishop at the church. And he would always sit me down with the organ player that he was insanely good. And I would see his hands and his feet go. And I was like, I want to do that. It always sounded amazing. The band in our church always sounded amazing. And I think we just kind of like gravitated, all my siblings and I just gravitated towards an instrument. And piano became that for me.
And you're amazing at piano, by the way. You even have one of your own songs, right?
I have two songs out.
Two songs out right now.
Yeah, one called I Love Us and one called Can I Be Me With You?
Well, that's amazing. I'm sure we'll dive a little bit deeper into that. But first, our segment of the day, and every show starts with Word of the Day, brought to you by Merriam-Webster Dictionary. It is not sponsored, but one day it will be, because I'm putting it out there and manifesting that into the podcast so that this becomes sustainable and allows it to grow a little bit bigger. Today's Word of the Day is qua. Qua is Q-U-A. It's a preposition, and what it means is a preposition used in formal speech or writing that means in the capacity or character of someone or something. It is used synonymously with the word as to indicate that someone or something is being referred to or thought about in a particular way. Their example sentence is, the artist qua artist is less interesting to me than the artist as a human being. So now you'll come up with an example sentence using the word qua, and then I'll come up with one.
Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness, I lost my spelling bee. Okay, let's see. Can I use it in a sentence? I need another example.
Let's see. I'll give another one in context.
I get by my looks, just so you know.
Hey, me too. I got a little bit of brains and a whole lot of handsome.
Yes, you do.
Charlie Chaplin financed his own film. He wrote them, he took music credit, he even choreographed. Most of the cast and crew were on his payroll. He even co-owned his distribution company. The box office take went straight into his pocket. He was not beholden to anyone, but he was not indispensable either. Losing the Chaplin studio had a negligible impact on the movie business, qua business. So it's like you're referring to something as something by using the word qua.
Okay, let me see. Okay. I love going to the movies. Qua. Like going to the beach.
That works.
Does
I'll
it
take
work?
it. I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm not the one that made the word, so if you say it wrong, we're just trying to educate the people.
I'm like,
Qua.
Jesus, my ADHD is coming out.
Just wait till someone uses it in like casual conversation. You're going to be like, how the hell do you know that word?
Yeah. I mean, now I'll hear it all the time.
And my example sentence will be, like I said, it's not easy. This is not an easy one. Miley Cyrus as a pop star, qua pop star, is better than Miley Cyrus as a human being, Miley Cyrus.
Oh, okay.
So you're referring to them as in like the more broader sense.
That made a lot more sense to me.
Like
than
I prefer
before.
like the image of Miley Cyrus less than I prefer like the actual prima donna.
Got
Miley Cyrus.
Got it.
And that right there is our first segment, Word of the Day. And that just kind of warms us up so I can start asking some big questions and you can have some big answers.
Definitely expanded my brain there.
So, Israel, you talked a little bit about growing up in a Pentecostal church, and I like to segment the show past, present, future. So we'll start off with these first few questions directed kind of to where you came from, how you got here, and then where you're going.
Perfect.
So, Israel, tell me about growing up. When you were a kid, what did you want to be?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a teacher. And I think I've always been fascinated by all of my educators, and so it kind of always put me in that same headspace. It was just like I want to do for others what was done to me, and I think my directors, whether it be like directors of band when I was coming up in school or my choir directors, it was never really any other like core class, but all of my music classes as well as like my vocal classes, my teachers inspired me so much, and it made me want to like teach other people how to do what they did what they taught me.
And do you have anybody that was like when you were growing up that just kind of like inspired you and was like something that was really rooting for Israel? You felt like you had like someone cheering for you on the sidelines?
Absolutely. I mean, it was my choir director and my band director. We're great friends still to this day. Dr. Benny L. Bolden and Todd Peterson. They were my band director and my choir director, and they just saw so much more in me, and gave me the tough love that I needed, but pushed me beyond what I felt like I was capable of at the time, and I'm so thankful for that.
What started that love for music?
I think definitely the church, and seeing as like my dad was very involved in ministry, and the more that I kind of was like pushed in the forefront. I think my family in general was always kind of pushed in the forefront of like being in the spotlight in ministry. So it was like whether we were helping in kids ministry or leading worship or something, we were always pushed in some kind of activity based within the church. And so I was always given a mic in my hand, and regardless of if I knew how to use it all the way at first, I always was given a mic in my hand. And I started singing around 7 years old, and that's also when I started playing piano. And I kind of like probably until like I was 11, I didn't think that I was much good. And once I hit like 11 years old, I was like, whoa, I can actually do a little doo-wop. Yeah, and that's kind of
some like hand independence.
Yeah. I was like, I'm seeing this go beyond just amateur hour, and I think I started to fall in love more with music. The more I was put in given the opportunities to sing and play, stuff like that. So school definitely awarded me that, as well as church. Were
you facing any hurdles growing up when it came to performing, music, church, growing up?
Yeah, I mean, my family, the older we got, they kind of became like a sports-centered family, and I was the only one that I felt like held on to music tightly. And my parents, my mom, she wanted me to be in any kind of sport that I could, and I resented it a lot, and I never wanted to. It's like something that I always had issues with, was like being put in the spot where I felt like I had to do something I didn't want to do. And because music was my passion, once I started doing all these sports activities, I felt like I was losing myself. I felt like I was losing who I was as a creative, a creative kid that just wanted to create, I could barely draw, but I wanted to draw. I wasn't the best singer at the time, but then I wanted to sing. I wasn't the best pianist, but I wanted to play. And I think like some of that robbed me of more years of just growing as a musician.
Do you have any memories growing up where you were like, this is a fundamental moment in my life that I have to hold on to? This is going to pave the way for my future.
Yeah, I think I found out how being alone at the piano would become my escape. I came from a very tough family background and grew up with a lot of trauma. My family life was not healthy, and I finally went through enough therapy where I could say that I had a crappy childhood, and I think music was the love that I always like ran to. It was like God and music. So I remember whenever there was like an argument in the house, or things being thrown, or my siblings fighting with each other, I would run to my garage where my mom bought me this upright piano. It was out of tune, but I was in love with the thing. That's what also like helped me to learn. My mom had found it at it wasn't a garage sale. It was like a thrift store. It was like a thrift store, yeah. And so I would run to the garage all the time, and I'd just cry my face off at the piano while I played. And it just always made me feel better. But I think that those were the moments that I realized, like, this is going to be a part of my life forever, and this is what's going to help me to grow and become the person that I desire to become, because for some reason, anytime I stepped towards music, it brought me peace, it brought me comfort, it brought me safety.
Was there any songs that just like you really held on to when you were growing up? Any like songs that you really liked, or things that you'd normally play more on the piano, covers, your original stuff?
So I grew up as an avid Michael Jackson fan.
Let's go!
I was insanely obsessed with him. He was all over my walls in my room. And then later on became Beyonce as well. Yeah. But I do remember watching all of his videos, and he would have these DVDs. I remember his tour from Book Truest. It was his Book Truest tour, where this man would step on stage and people were like falling out and like everyone's like crying and screaming, and it was just like he was just infectious. Like people were getting taken off in gurneys because they like passed out of how he made them
King
feel.
of pop.
Yeah. And so I think he was just a huge inspiration for like some of my sound, tone. I remember being bullied because I had a higher pitched voice. Growing up, I sang first soprano in high school, my freshman year of high school. before puberty. Yeah, I was singing soprano,
not tenor.
No, and now I do. But I remember always just like being obsessed with that like higher register tone, and Michael Jackson was just the inspiration.
Well, because he hits it so well.
He's up there. Can't do it anymore, but I was up there and I loved it.
What is one of your favorite stories from growing up?
Whoa, that's a tough one. If it's like
It can be anything.
childhood.
It doesn't have to be like directly childhood. It could be like middle school, high school, college.
Yeah, I think when I recognized that I could impact people's lives, it really did a number on me. There was a student he was in middle school while I was in high school, and I was helping with our marching band. I was a drum major my last 2 years in high school, my junior and senior year. And I think like from freshman year on, I just started to see my influence grow as far as like the way that I could impact people with positivity and love, and some of the things that I felt like I wasn't feeling at home. I just exuded like warmth, and and I think so many people gravitated towards me because of that. So I went from like super bullied and picked on in elementary, middle school to like being this like staple popular guy in high school, but for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And there was this kid in middle school that was dying. His organs were failing.
Oh my God.
And he's still here and he's still with us.
Let's go.
Yes, he's the best.
Shout out.
Max Hatch, I love you. Beth Hatch, his mom, is amazing. But I had the idea, it was my junior year, I had the idea to host a benefit concert for him in our auditorium, and he was obsessed with band. He loved our marching band for our school, and he said, one day I'm going to be, in your marching band in Barron Collier High School, a marching cougar. And I remember connecting with his mom, and I had messaged her on Facebook one day, and I was like, would your son want to come in to our concert and conduct? And we just make the night about him and celebrating him. And they came in, and the newspaper, the news came. They made a whole article out of it, and it was him and I gave him my Carnegie Hall baton that I had gotten from my band director, the guy that influenced me and was a big part of my musical journey and made me feel that I could do anything. And so I had it for a year, and then it was so hard but I passed it on to him, because he loved band. But it was just a beautiful moment, and I think that was like one of those moments in my life where I felt like I was like finally in a space where I could like influence people the way that I had been influenced.
Yeah, it's like a symbolic passing of the torch.
Yeah, like, it was a great that I'd have to say that was a huge like highlight of my life.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Well, I think it's time for another segment.
Let's
if you're
go.
ready. So this is going to be called Wordplay. We're going to essentially play a game. I'm going to count down from 3, and then we're going to say the same word at the same time. The goal is to get to the same word, but we're going to start off with random words. The rules are simple. You can't say anything that's around us, so nothing that you can see, nothing that you can hear. Think of a random word, and then try to avoid names, because names get real tricky.
Right.
And then we can't talk about why we said what word. Our goal is just to find a common word and then say the same one at the same time. And we'll just keep going until we get the same word.
Okay, so
any questions?
So is it kind of like with context? So if you say something, I'm supposed to say something that's like it?
Yeah, our goal is to find, like, based on the last word that we said, we're trying to get to the same word.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so nothing in the room, nothing around us.
Okay.
And try not to repeat any words that you've said, no names, and we can't talk about it after we said it.
Okay, here we go.
So I'm thinking of a word. I got a word.
All right, I got a word too.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Fight.
Terminal. You say fight? I said terminal.
Hey.
Terminal and fight.
I already know.
Really?
Yes. That's an easy one.
Is it?
Fight and terminal?
Terminal and fight. I got a word. Okay. I don't know if it's the word you're sending. I feel like you're sending me a word with your mind.
Sending you a word.
Okay. Fight and terminal. 3, 2, 1.
Cancer.
Disease. Oh, okay. Well, you were sending it. I got it. Picked up the vibe.
Yeah.
Okay. Disease and cancer. I got a word.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Hospital.
Ill and hospital. Okay. I got a word. I feel like you just sent me a word. I'm changing my word to what you just sent me. I felt a new word pop up in my mind.
All right.
3, 2, 1. Doctor. Doctor in bed?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I got a word. doctor, and bed. I'm sending you my word.
Hopefully I'm picking it up. Jeez. Okay. All right.
3, 2, 1.
Nurse.
Patient. Oh, that was my first word. I changed it to patient. Okay, patient and nurse.
We're almost there. I feel like
we're almost there.
We're almost there.
Patient and nurse. Yeah, I got a word. I can feel you thinking.
All right.
3, 2, 1. Medicine. Oh, let's go.
Let's go.
And that is wordplay. Now we're going to get into the questions. Okay, Israel. So you moved to LA.
I did.
What spurred that journey? What brought you here?
Geez. So, a series of things came from me moving to LA. I was in San Diego for 3 years prior, and I had just gotten to a space with the church that I was at in San Diego where it had been, quote unquote, found out that I like men. And so that was a huge deal. Growing up in the church, up until this point, it was something that not obviously, a lot of people in the church world see as a struggle. So they call what you experience or what I experience in my everyday life, they would consider me struggling. And so I had that kind of tag put on me through every ministry that I put on, went through. So it was either that, like, I was trying not to be gay or, like, abstaining from that, or I was struggling or wrestling with it, is what, every pastor under the sun was telling me what I was going through. And so when I got towards the end of my journey in San Diego, I remember it coming out. I was leading worship at a church there that I will not disclose because they don't deserve it.
Yeah.
But
no shout out.
No shout out. And the music director had sat me down and was like, "We heard that you were going to these spaces, in the queer community, and we can't have you doing that." It was essentially, I'm supposed to promise that I wouldn't go to those spaces anymore.
First of all, how are they finding out?
I'm sure just as much as I had like fans and supporters, I definitely had some enemies. And so I think there's people in both scenes, whether it was like the gay community or the church, that may have wanted to find me out. And I think in ways it was obvious, but if you did your research on me, you would probably find out pretty quickly. I remember how much I tried to hide, like, friends wanted to post me on their social media. I would be in their tagged photo, so you could see us if I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm at a bar wearing a crop top or something like that.
You're living your life.
Yes.
You're enjoying yourself.
Exactly. It would be pretty obvious to say that I'm at a gay bar, but I would always like untag myself from my friends' posts. And there's so many great things out there and experiences and moments and photos that I now have lost because of being fearful of the church. And so at the end of that journey, they sat me out for a month, so I wasn't leading worship for a month. And when they called me back to come lead again, I said no. I turned the offer down to come back to the ministry because I felt like I had gotten to the end of pretending. I got to the end of feeling like I needed to put on this air just to belong, just to be a part of this clique or this group of church folks. It was a huge church with like several campuses, and so it's like even just through being at the church, you become very like well known, and it's popular to be the person on the stage and stuff like that. And I felt like I had that for so many years, chasing platforms where at the end of the day, I realized that I'd never really fully be accepted. And so at the end of that journey, I got kicked out of the place that I was living because I was living with two pastors from that church. And so I stayed on my friend's couch for about a month. And then I was like, I don't know, something woke up in me, and I was like, I got to make a move. I got to do something. I can't live on my friend's couch, I've got to start my life. And I started looking at the opportunity to move to LA. And it was the wildest thing. The moment that I came out here and began to be myself, like my life drastically changed
for the better.
Absolutely for the better. And I couldn't be more thankful for choosing me finally, rather than, religious family or religious like friends of the past. But I think I think you learn ultimately the people that are there for you through thick and thin. Because I couldn't name 5 people from my church past that, still communicate with me and love me dearly and whatnot. It's like you're either a part of us or you're not one of us. And but I'm so happy that my LA family chose me and loves me and brought me in as their own. So
yeah, I mean, we met through church.
Yes,
you're literally the worship leader at church.
Yes, I am.
Like, you're still involved and you're yourself. And I think, I can't speak for everybody. I think we all recognize you as somebody who belongs.
I think that's
we
the
want you to be
thing.
there. I'm excited to see you when I go to church. Aww. I should go more. I know.
Stop it.
But I get excited to see you, and I get excited to see everyone else that's there. Because
but that's what I also
that's
love
what
about,
church is supposed to be.
That's what I also love about what we have at our churches. It isn't about just like attendance and did you check the box or were you a good Christian this week? It's like you're learning to do
life with Jesus
all over again in a very different way. Where some of us are single out here, some of us are dating, some of us are married. But when you are in a space where you've grown up with a specific thing, it's almost like you're a baby again. Like I feel like, not just in the Christian sense, I feel like in life I'm like, I've only been out publicly for 2 years. So it's like I feel like I'm starting this whole new life with being myself. I'm a 2-year-old. Yeah. I'm starting this whole new life with Jesus, the way that I'm learning to do life with Jesus as a 2-year-old. So it's like it's allowing ourselves to have grace and give us a space to, even if you're not at church for a month, we're learning how to do this thing all over again and allowing ourselves the space to grow all over again.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we still come back,
Right.
Because it doesn't feel like there's the pressure of like, oh, if you didn't go for 2 weeks in a row, you're going to hell. It feels like you're immediately prodigal son, welcome back into God's arms. Like, Pastor Jesse's just excited that you're there.
Oh, I've had enough like calls and texts in my past that I used to do to other people when I wouldn't see. Like, it was a part of my ministry task to text people that I didn't see in church for like a week.
Yeah. Or
2 weeks, and be like, we miss you, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Haven't seen you in church in a while. Like, it's like, okay, the church guilt, like laying it on. It's like, how about just like, hey, how are you doing?
Exactly.
Like, how's life? And so I've learned so much since leaving a toxic church environment.
So Israel, how is life for you right now? I know recently there were rumors going around that you wanted to maybe go to New York. I know that currently you are on Vanderpump Rules. You seem very involved in the church still, and it seems like you're happy, but recently you posted a video on Instagram talking about a potential move that may not happen anymore. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so for the past year and a half, I've been able to film with the cast of Vanderpump Rules, and that's been fun and has had a lot of exciting moments, and even just like building friendship with some of the cast has been great. But it's also had its dramatic issues and trauma and hurt. And I would say that was kind of the catalyst of I wouldn't say it was the catalyst of my move, but it was the catalyst that like tumbleweeded a bunch of different, snowballed into like a bunch of different reasons why I wanted to leave. That an instance that happened on the show, where two of my friends had cheated with each other. It was essentially heartbreaking to a lot of people, and those obviously that were like directly affected. But I think it made it very hard for me to trust friendships, and so I was like very guarded for a while, which also lost me out of like a lot of opportunities, because I think what gave me so much opportunity was making sure that I'm like being personable, putting myself out there, going to events, like showing up, walking red carpets, doing interviews and stuff like that. And I think I pulled myself away from all of that because it felt like I just couldn't trust one single soul. And so after the fact, it became even closest friends to me that I like all of 2023. It felt like I was just like cutting off so many friendships, like one by one. And it was like definitely heartbreaking. But I couldn't be more thankful for the growth that came through it, where I realized that I had to set boundaries for the people that belong in my life and don't belong in my life, the people that were using me, or clout chasing or energy suckers. And I didn't realize that it was...
no shout-outs.
Yeah, no shout-out.
No shout outs.
I didn't realize that it was a job for me to do. You know, like I it's easy to like blame the world when there's a lot of issues going in your life, but if you don't set up boundaries or cut people off that need to be cut off, you are literally allowing people to suck the energy and life out of you. And I finally got to a place where I was just like, I'm not putting myself in a situation to surround myself with fake people. I'm not giving too much of myself to this, like, I wouldn't say dream of reality TV, but like the specific people that I've been around that aren't the healthiest. I know how to compartmentalize now and just be a good friend rather than get into everyone's mess.
Yeah.
I think I'd like put myself in a lot of people's mess in the past, and it just left me with a lot of hate mail, a lot of gossip out there, and just not a lot of positivity for what
it's like these people are so removed from it. They're just watching a show.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't, like, you're just a person.
Absolutely.
You know, and I'm sorry you have to go through that.
I mean, it did teach me, because I think I was almost groomed by the church to be media trained, but it kind of like coincided when I started doing some reality TV and like internet personality stuff. Like if you see me on, you'll see me on Jubilee, you'll see me on Brian Terada's videos, which is crazy because I get that a lot more than Vanderpump when I'm away from Sir. Like obviously working at Sir, it's a dead ringer. Everyone, you know, will come up and recognize me from the show, but it's like when I'm like just walking the street, people will stop me all the time and be like, I saw you on that Jubilee video, that Brian Terada video. Just like very prominent YouTube videos out there. But I think like being a personality comes with, and as you grow in your influence, you will have not only supporters, you will have a lot of haters, and you kind of got to like learn how to navigate that. I feel like I finally got to a place where it's just like, oh, okay, I can silence the noise. I can not look at comments and stuff like that. And I can just focus on my goals and the people that are there for me and support me in what I'm doing.
There's a yin to the yang. There's always going to be a balance.
Absolutely.
Like if you're going to have adoration on one side, of course you're going to have a little bit of hate on the other. It's just you choose what to listen to.
Exactly.
Now, when it came to moving to LA and being a part of these kind of big projects, and it seems like your trajectory is only going to get bigger and bigger. Like you literally said last year that this is your year of the All-Star. Like this is the year where you accept your fate and you let whatever happens happen. What is something you could say to somebody that might need a mindset shift?
I would like to say that it does get better. And I think when I was going through, it was like a 2-month fog of like, I was going to move to New York. I was ready to get out of here. I didn't want to be around specific people. I labeled all LA people as, you know, fake, and which is not true. And I own that because, you know, you can create a different narrative always. I feel like one thing that brought me out was this mindset shift of it does get better. Like things, like let things play its course. If you need to be miserable, depressed, and sad for, you know, a couple weeks or whatnot, if you need to go through the feels, like allow that to take its course, because you'll be a lot more thankful that you did. And one of my friends had told me recently was just like, I just want you to enjoy this process. And I think that was just like so huge to me, because I think we all want to get there. We all want to be there. We all want to, you know, be a star and become the next big thing. But if we're only upset and sad and angry throughout the entire process just because we want to already have that huge opportunity or want to already be there, we're going to look back and hate the way that we did it. We're going to hate the outcome too, because we were a Grinch the entire time. And I feel like I'm finally at a place where it's just like, I am just loving life. I am like enjoying time with my friends. I like no longer feel the pressure of having it all together. I want to be a sloppy mess this summer. Trust me. I just want to enjoy myself and like finally be 27. Because it's been so much older people that have told me like, Israel, you're 27 years old. You've done so much in the 2 years that you've been here.
It's been such a short amount of time, and you're doing so much.
Yeah, it's just allow yourself to enjoy.
It's okay to breathe.
Yeah, you don't have to be a machine always. You don't always have to be go. But the fun thing is, because I did take my time and rest, I am so on go mode for this summer.
You ready to go?
I am so excited to just like go to the grain and finally push out more content and finally like get back to what I know and love. But if you don't have those rest moments, or if you don't take the time to enjoy the process, you'll feel like you're at a loss when you get past it.
Yeah. It's funny. I personally believe everybody kind of lives in their own little world. Like everyone's perspective and view on this planet is going to be completely different because everyone's foundation for reality is based on their past, present, and now what they think the future will be. And one of these quotes that I heard, I don't remember who said it. It might have been Naomi Campbell, but it was everyone thinks that their future is going to be some like almost somewhat different form of the present right now. And they're always so exponentially wrong. The future is always exponentially different compared to now. Like you can't imagine what is coming. And so you might as well enjoy the process because the dream is not the destination. The dream is the journey.
That's so good.
If you've aspired to be something, you have to enjoy becoming that something. You can't just jump leaping bounds, as Shakespeare would say, from state to state.
Absolutely.
You have to walk. You have to take your steps. Your 1% every day, and it's not hustle. It's this is how it was always supposed to happen.
So good.
Israel, we'll do one more segment, and then we're moving into the final questions, okay?
All right.
So this segment I like to call word definition. I'm just going to say 5 words, and you're going to define it in your own words. Feel free to say more than one word. I'm only going to say one word because it's one word that you define. Passion.
The heart to keep on going even when you are tired, exhausted, or just not feeling it.
God.
The greatest love I will ever know, regardless of if people think I deserve them or not.
You deserve them. Family.
Chosen. I feel like I have created my chosen family, and I gotta be grateful and thankful for that. I'm not downplaying or negating my birth family, but I think the people that continue to show up for me with love are my chosen family.
Rest.
Quiet within even turbulent living. I feel like it's the best place to be when you can rest even when there's chaos going on around you. Pulling away and going silent. We all need it sometimes.
And last but not least, friendship.
I see that as love. It's so crazy because it's just as with God. It's like it's the best friendship, the best love that I feel like I've ever known has been through my friends. It's always been through my friends. You can see the God in them. You can see the God in others. So I'd say love.
And that's word definition. Now, I'll probably do about 2 more questions, and that's the show.
Let's go.
Israel, what would you say to somebody who feels like they don't belong?
Now, I've dealt with this my entire life, and what I would say to that is sometimes you have to create your own family and your own belonging, because it's out there. There's spaces that we all belong in. It does take time, and a lot of times it might be, almost like an interview or an audition that you're like, taking people through. This relationship didn't work out. This friendship didn't work out. Whatnot. This church didn't work out. This relationship with a parent or whatever didn't work out. It can feel like a trial, but I'd say trust the process that you belong somewhere. And if it takes you creating that family, whether it's a family of misfits, a family of people that, are on the outskirts or whatnot, you make that the most loving, caring, heartwarming family that you can.
And if you could ask advice from 80-year-old Israel, what do you think 80-year-old Israel would tell you about your current circumstances?
And say, the ball's not going to drop on you, so just live. Jesse, our pastor, would speak about this often, because I grew up in a household where it was like you constantly feel like you're in trouble or going to get in trouble or you're doing something wrong or you're living wrong. Then obviously in an upbringing of the church, it's the same. You feel like there's always a ruler that's going to come down, and you're always going to be in a place where your life drastically changes for the worse, or, and I've had several of these moments in my life where it's like the hammer came down, especially being in a close-knit kind of dictative Christian community. I think I would tell myself today to just like live, please live. Don't hold your breath for the next issue, for the next problem, for the next like dramatic, life-changing thing. Just give yourself the grace to live, because you're not wrong. And when you are wrong, you learn, and you take the consequence, but you learn from it. It's not it's no longer so heavy on heaven and hell as opposed to life and not living,
I've had a lot of problems in my life, and every time a big problem comes up, I don't know what to do. It feels like this is the end. This is the death of me. I don't know what to do or how I get through this. But then I get through it, and then I say, oh my God, how did I do that? How did I get through that? And then another problem comes up, and then I say it never ends.
Right.
But then I keep remembering that I keep getting through it. And when I keep getting through it, I start to realize that it's not about the problem after problem after problem. It's about the victory after victory after victory.
I love that. I love that so much.
So, Israel, would you care to share a word before we leave?
Absolutely. I'd say please do not leave this earth without feeling the freedom of being yourself. I think I've had so many different versions of me, and so many people that told me who I should be or what I should be doing and the way that I should go about life. And I was miserable for a lot of years because I never thought I could live up to what they were saying, but I also didn't want to live up to what they were asking of me. And so the greatest person that you could ever be is yourself.
This has been Brett Gaffney and
Israel Isaac.
And you just listened to another episode of A Word Before We Leave. Guys, every 2 to 3 Mondays, new episodes are coming out continuously. I've locked down the Monday as the day, and it's a great way to start the week. If you guys really enjoyed this episode, please feel free to send it to somebody you love. Send it to somebody that needs to feel like they belong. And just know that my point of view and Israel's point of views is just a little slice of life. And the more slices of life we get to learn, the more we understand the world a little bit better. At the end of the day, the only thing that you can change is yourself. And to start, you have to know that you belong. And I think Israel would agree.
Absolutely.
This has been Brett Gaffney and Israel Isaac. I'm going to say some quick thank yous to everyone that's been a part of Season 2. But other than that, that's the show. I want to say thank you to Maria Small, Casey Gardner, Gavin. I want to say thank you to everybody that supported the podcast, you the listener, everyone else that's been interviewed for Season 2. And thank you to Pastor Jesse for introducing me to Israel. I think that not only is this such a good friendship that we have, but it's only going to get better.
Absolutely.
I've just been honored to share your story with this. I know that we could have talked for hours on end, kept going, but we got to keep it under an hour for the podcast. But again, thank you so much for listening, guys, and just stay tuned for more great stories about great people that are just like you and me coming out soon. Well, that's it. Israel, I always end the show with someone closing a door to segue into the next episode. So if you would like to get up and close the door, I'd love to give you the door. Feel free to just give it a slam. I would do it, but this microphone wants to fall on me right now.
Here we go.
Go it. Perfect.